One of the greatest gifts that I've received is that I'm the product of an unconventional upbringing. My mom used to spend her summers selling crystals and hemp pancakes in the parking lots of psychedelic music festivals, meaning I also spent a significant portion of my childhood selling crystals and hemp pancakes. When I close my eyes and I think about these early childhood memories together, I'm swept away in the scent of sandalwood and camping gear and chalky gravel dust. My dad was very different. He used to ride his 51 Harley-Davidson chopper with the classic 8-hanger handlebars for miles on end. He smelled like full-grain leather and gas station coffee and that specific smoking scent of a backyard bonfire. Although realistically, that was from chain-smoking Marlboro Reds. I am, for all intents and purposes, the product of a fleeting romance and a lifelong commitment to co-parenting between a biker and a hippie. And out of all of the things that they disagreed on, and I can assure you they disagreed on a lot of things, there was one truth on which they were completely united, and it's that if you find yourself in a position to use your voice or your talents to actually help someone, that is your responsibility. There's nothing more important or meaningful than that. As a visual designer, using my voice has translated into doing creative work that I believe in, work that centers social impact, environmental stewardship, community well-being. Because at its best, I do believe that design has the power to be a force for good and an agent of change. The opposite is also true. We're living in a world that has seen the consequences of bad design: manipulative app interfaces, profit-hungry advertisements, graphics that look really good but cause real harm. And we've all experienced the side effects in our own lives. We've all found ourselves trapped on our phones at 2 o'clock in the morning, caught in the clutches of infinite scroll, or pinching our belly fat while scrutinizing ourselves in the mirror, haunted by the impossible physique of some random fitness influencer. So what does it mean to prioritize better design, responsible design? I believe that our creative minds have a call to action that we need to stop designing on autopilot, prioritizing the importance of profitability and efficiency without considering the deeper human and environmental costs. That we need to lean into our humanity, our empathy, our capacity for deeper listening, because when we don't, really painful things happen. We're living in a world that has seen the consequences of bad design in a really big way. We've seen the rise of toxic and suffocating beauty standards thanks to the normalization of airbrush, retouch, even whitewashed imagery leveraged across print and digital media. We've seen the rise of advertising to our own children with a study published by the Journal of Applied Developmental Psychology showing that toddlers as young as 2 years old can successfully identify the brands that they recognize from television. And we've seen the pain of our own planet. The Ocean Conservancy cites that 11 million metric tons of plastics are entering our oceans each year. Here's the really painful part. We designed this world. We've all had a hand in it. And yet, I refuse to believe that our work and our talent and our integrity and our vision can't lead us towards something different. Design is art with an angle, with a through line, with a specific goal or intention, which means when we center the goal of lifting people up and igniting change in our creative work, you get really good design. And when we center the goal of making people feel like they want more and they need more and they'll never be enough, that's when you get the opposite. Now, here are 3 lessons that I've learned from my own experience working in the industry. The first is that we are all designers. Design is at the heart of the human experience. It's the yearning to bring order and meaning to the world and the chaos around us. Every email you craft, every weekend trip you coordinate, you're designing your life, you're influencing your experiences and those around you. The question becomes, what are we all reaching towards? The second truth is that better design asks different questions. Instead of asking questions like, how do we maximize profit by any means necessary? Or how do we create this sense of a void in the end user's life that only our product or our service can fill? We ask questions like, all right, how can we use our work to celebrate our shared humanity, to celebrate our right to human flourishing, to a dignified life? How do we create authentic value without compromising the health of the environment and our global communities. And the third truth is that responsible design is unconventional. And this is unfortunate, but we're living in a world where it's no longer normal to take deep care and accountability in our daily work. And so I urge you to be unconventional. What happens when we have the courage to center our own North Star, that thing we believe more than anything? What happens when we lean into our own ethics, our integrity, and our joy? And I add the word joy specifically. We talk so much about the importance of hard work and sacrifice, but if we're ever to achieve meaningful, sustainable change, I believe that joy must be part of that equation. In the words of one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver, joy is not made to be a crumb. So I've taken a moment to look around the room, and I've noticed that most, if not all of us, are wearing these very sassy and sophisticated things on our feet called shoes. And I'm curious what we're supposed to do with them when we're done. What are we supposed to do with our old shoes? And I'd argue that despite all of our technological advancements, our options are pretty limited, right? We could do maybe the obvious thing, which would be to ditch them in the trash can. Maybe the more altruistic approach would be to drop them off at the thrift shop down the street. Or maybe, if we're feeling very whimsical, a third option emerges. And bear with me on this one. Maybe we could take a weekend trip out to the country. You could find a nice big open field, dig a 24-inch hole, and we could bury them there. And then, after a few weeks of sunshine and gentle rain, we could return to this place to find a vibrant patch of wildflowers has blossomed where we left them behind. Now, obviously, this option is ridiculous. Romantic, but ridiculous. And yet, it's exactly the solution that visionary product designer Christian Motz brought into this world, the first fully biodegradable shoe that blooms. And if you can imagine them for me, they're actually quite stylish, classic high-top sneaker, no messy branding. You really can plant them in the earth. And what he's done here is he's envisioned a product, brought a product to life that merges two things that we see as completely separate, nature and industry. He's envisioned a world where product decay becomes a source of new life instead of excessive waste, a world where we actually lean into the regenerative power of Earth and its cycles. And it's an idea that I'm completely captivated by, if not obsessed with, for a deeply personal reason. A few years ago, I was in the beginning stages of planning my own wedding. Very fun, very warm, very vibrant time in my life. And then I got a call from my older brother, and I found out that we had lost our dad, and that we had lost him in a pretty tragic way. And I felt like my heart had been filled to the brim and then completely ripped wide open. And I learned that grief is a wall, and that loss can be physically painful. And I almost felt betrayed by the way life kept moving forward, because all I wanted was for time to stand still. I wanted to take a step back from work. I wanted to cancel the wedding. About a month went by, and my fiance asked me to do him a favor. He asked me if I would go see his rabbi. Because if we were going to go through with our big, fat Jewish-Italian wedding, she would be the one to officiate it, and we had to make a decision. And so we met this rabbi at a very casual coffee shop, and I very casually told her about my existential crisis, and she very casually dropped a piece of ancient spiritual wisdom, as a rabbi does. And ultimately what she said is, in her tradition, life always takes precedent. We live in this world where real loss and heartache are completely unavoidable. So there must be something that keeps us moving forward. And there's nothing more worthy of that forward momentum than the celebration of life and love and new beginnings and togetherness. Even if that's the difficult choice, we let that guide us forward. 7 months and 7 days after I lost my dad, I married my best friend. And then 1 month and 1 day later, I found out that I was pregnant. Because we love growth and chaos. So this idea that loss is one step of a larger cycle is not only personal to me, it's become really tangible as well. And I believe it's the same idea that inspires someone to take a muddy pair of sneakers and turn them into a field of wildflowers. It's the idea that our heartache and our suffering and our grief and our endings can become the fertile soil for new life and new growth and new inspiration if we're willing to do that difficult thing of leaning in and alchemizing it. We live in this world where there's so much pressure to build a name for ourselves, to leave this concrete footprint on the earth so somebody knows that we were here and we were triumphant. But responsible design asks us to think differently about our life and its relationship to other people, its relationship to the planet. In a world where we're given so much permission to prioritize profit over people, efficiency over ecological well-being, I urge you to be unconventional, to have the courage to center your own North Star, to do the really difficult thing of asking different questions. Because even though my father is no longer with us, I hope he would consider that I'm honoring his legacy by using my voice and my talent to help people, because that is my responsibility, and it is so important and meaningful. Yes, we designed this broken world, but we also have the courage and the power and the integrity needed to fix it. One conscious design decision, one deeply personal design decision at a time. You are the designer of your own life, the architect of your own experience. And the choices we all make, they have an impact on each other. So let's begin. Thank you.